What is going on, everyone? And in this video, I'll be giving you my UFC Vegas 48 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday, February 19th, 2022. And unfortunately for this event, it's probably not going to be one of the best events ever. If anything, even it might be decent, but I have this feeling that it's going to be a pretty sleeper. Obviously, the main event was supposed to be Rafael dos Anjos taking on Rafael Fiziev. That would have been a banger of a main event. But now we have Johnny Walker taking on Jamal Hill. I mean, Kyle Daukaus versus Jamie Pickett in the co-main event is just kind of shows you that this might not be the best one. Maybe everyone gets knocked out. Maybe it's a crazy card, but I kind of doubt it just a little bit. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. Did really well in the last one. Obviously, let's see if we can carry it over to this fight night. So in the first fight on the main card, we have a middleweight bout between Joaquin Buckley, and he'll be taking on Abdul Razak Al Hassan. 13-4 for Joaquin Buckley, and then 11-4 for Abdul Razak Al Hassan. This is going to be one of those fights where someone's going to die. Someone's just going to get knocked out. It's 185 pounds. Both guys really explosive. I think Buckley, we've seen him been absolutely destroyed before, and that's kind of concerning. But then we've also seen Al Hassan be destroyed and also get beaten over the course of 3 rounds. And I think when you look at Buckley, he's very explosive. He likes to slam those kicks in there. I think he's like the majority of his game is kicking and then loading up big on shots. But he can, he has pretty good cardio for exerting all that energy. He definitely has really good cardio, and I can see him over the course of 3 rounds, beating up Al Hassan. But that being said, with Al Hassan, we saw in his last fight against Di Chirico, just obliterate him. He sent him to the shadow realm, head kicked him to hell. He had to win that fight too, right? Because he was coming in off of 3 losses, and he just wasn't looking the best. In one of those fights, he got KO'd against Chaos Williams, and then in that fight against Di Chirico, he just killed him. One strike, he killed him. Head kick to the dome. It's pretty quick. So again, he's obviously saying like, I'm dangerous and all that, but we don't know how he's going to look over the course of 3 rounds, and that's a little bit concerning. But if he goes out there and head kicks Buckley in the head, it could be over. But if this goes 3 rounds, I feel like Buckley probably will be the one to be able to dominate this fight. But it is sketchy because we've seen Buckley get destroyed as well. He got head kicked by Di Chirico in that fight in round number 1. So that is a little concerning. And even against Kevin Holland, granted Kevin Holland is more of a striker and doesn't really have a ground game. And then also at the same time, Buckley, we've seen him work in some clinch. We've seen him do some takedowns as well. And as far as we've seen from Al Hassan, he hasn't really been able to defend takedowns over the course of a 3-round fight. So this fight is really sketch because I can see it being fairly quick, and Buckley gets into a wild exchange, and then he just gets absolutely destroyed. But they can also see Hassan kind of getting beat over the course of 3 rounds and getting taken down and all that. And I think, you could sit here and say Buckley's going to take him down, but then, he gets destroyed. And then obviously for Al Hassan, you could say, well, he's going to come out there and he's going to blast him into that dome and send him just like he did to Chirico. And then next thing you know, Al Hassan's getting taken down for like 9 times, 8 times like he did against Jacob Malkoun. And then that's obviously not the best thing that you want to be seeing. So it's kind of like a coin flip to me. I think if Buckley fights smart, he can definitely win this fight. But then at the same time, I think Al Hassan, if he gets into a wild exchange with Buckley and he's able to land one of these big shots that he's able to do and the quickness that he's able to do it at, I think he can put him down. So it's sketchy. It's a coin flip. I just feel like if I pick Joaquin Buckley, he's gonna go out there and get just obliterated in like 20 seconds. So I have to go Abdul Razak Al Hassan on this one. I'm gonna take him to win by TKO in round number 1, but I will say it's like a coin flip in my opinion. And then the second fight on the main card, we have Jim A10 Miller taking on Nicolas Iron Mata. And for this one, this is another one where we kind of don't really have too much data on Mata as far as, in the past, what has it been? In the past 2 years, really, because he hasn't fought. And that's kind of sketchy, too. We've seen him before. He looks like an aggressive striker. We obviously seen him being able to obliterate people, but that was, not... It wasn't against anyone special, and this kind of feels like one of those fights where I feel like Mata's probably going to have the better stand-up. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, he was on The Ultimate Fighter, obviously, and then he was on Dana White's Contender Series. But, we haven't really been able to see how he's grown in the past 2 years, assuming that he's obviously probably grown. I think he had an injury in there. I think these guys were supposed to fight like 5 times or something like that, but it didn't end up happening. And then in his last fight against Joe Laurie for Mata, he was defeating him by a unanimous decision. Yeah, this is weird. I think Miller, his striking is not the best in the world, and obviously he's a veteran in the game, submission artist, and he's more comfortable doing a lot of that. His striking can be okay, but we see in his last fight he took on Eric Gonzalez and he defeated him by pretty much a KO in round number 2. But Eric Gonzalez, I mean, that was just sloppy striking, and that really wasn't. I wouldn't put too much into that as far as like, wow, Jim Miller knocked him out or anything like that. I think most guys would probably knock out Eric Gonzalez. Yeah, I think most guys would. For Nicolas Mata being 12-3, so he definitely has some fights in him. And like I said, I think he has good submission defense. So I don't know if it's gonna be good enough to defend something from Miller, but it might be good enough to get back up and not just get submitted so quickly. And aggressive striking from what I was able to see, and good power. I think keep the fight standing if I'm Mata. See if I can hurt Jim Miller on the feet, and obviously stay away from the takedown. Stay away from getting taken down, getting submitted on the floor. I would just try to piece him up on the feet and see if I can do it really early. So, yeah, I think we kind of figured this one out in the first round. We see if Jim Miller's just kind of having his way with the grappling maybe early on, or if he's lighting him up. If Jim Miller starts lighting Mata up on the feet, I think it's over. But I think if Mata can be aggressive, get in his face, hurt him bad on the feet, I think you need to look for a finish here, and get him, take him out of there, get a KO. So I'm gonna go Nicolas Mata on this one. I'm just not really confident in Jim Miller striking, and obviously I'm confident in his grappling, but he could take a big shot here and get put away. So I'm gonna go Nicolas Mata to defeat Jim Miller. I'll take him to win by KO TKO in round number 1. Move on into the third fight on the main card, and we have Parker Porter taking on the Black Alan the Black Samurai Badeau. Porter 12-6. This is a heavyweight fight. Badeau is 8-3. This is gonna be, I think, a very sloppy fight, and one of those fights that it might just be like one of those things where both guys are like severely gassed out and they're just trying to throw down. Parker Porter, the longer the fight goes on, the sloppier his striking gets. And then obviously for Badeau, we've seen his cardio just get absolutely destroyed over the course of like one round or whatever. Both guys, I don't know, they don't really have they don't really put together a lot of great shots. I was impressed with Badeau though early on. I think he was able to light up Porter pretty badly, and that was pretty good to watch. Badeau, not light up Porter. In his last fight, Badeau was taking on Nascimento. That's who he was. And he was lighting him up pretty good in the first round, and then he kind of just, I don't know, gave up. It was kind of weird to watch, but he was winning that fight until he just gave up. Just kind of ran out of gas severely, turtled up, and just got destroyed. Badeau probably will have the better combinations, but then again, is it only going to be in that first round? Is he gonna be able to take advantage of that early on? Is he going to gas out again in the second round? It's kind of sketch. Parker Porter, maybe he's able to use his wrestling here, get into the maybe get into the clinch, work something like that. Striking doesn't really seem to be the best. It's not like I would say Badeau puts together better combinations, at least when he's able to, and he's not gassed out. But for Porter, maybe some leg kicks. If anything, the only thing Porter did against Chase Sherman was kind of just staying in his face. It wasn't like he was really knocking out Sherman. I mean, he landed some good shots, but he was just staying in his face, being aggressive, and kind of tiring him out like that. But yeah, he's definitely open to big shots, just like Badeau is. The only thing I can see here is if Porter's just able to hold on, and then Badeau's just gassed out of his mind, and he's over there just Porter just lighting him up, and then Badeau just does what he did in his last fight and just turtles up. So, but then again, Badeau could come out here and not turtle up, and he could work on his cardio. Maybe he slows it down just a little bit, and he's lighting Porter up, and then he finishes him. So, it is really sketchy, man. Like, a lot of these fights are just really weird as far as, like, predicting them, because it's just, is this guy going to just gas out so bad after the first round, and Parker Porter's the one winning? Like, this guy's name is Parker Porter. Okay, so I'm going to go Alan Badeau on this one. I really liked what I saw against Nascimento, outside of the fact that he absolutely just tanked after that and just gassed out. So I'm hoping he worked on that, and I'm hoping he can slow it down a little bit, land some pretty good shots, and take Parker Porter out of there. So I'm gonna trust him to do it in that first round, though. So I'm gonna go Alan Badeau, really sketchy, to defeat Parker Porter by KO TKO in round number 1. And then move on into the co-main event of the evening, and we have Kyle Daukaus taking on Jamie the Nightwolf Pickett. The big thing that stands out to me in this fight is just the fact that Jamie Pickett, it seems like when he hurts the guy or something, like he doesn't really do too much. And I think when his last finish was Jamie Pickett, his last finish was on the Dana White Contender Series, KO TKO in round number 2. And in that fight, I mean, even when he got the finish, it was kind of just like a wild flurry of strikes. It wasn't really, technical or anything. It was kind of sloppy, to be honest. The other guy was just kind of overwhelmed, and he was able to put him down. But again, like I said, it wasn't, it wasn't like, oh man, he has the best striking. It was kind of like a rush forward, kind of just throwing his hands out there, and then he obviously just overwhelmed the guy. So against someone like Kyle Daukaus, I think Kyle Daukaus can be more technical in this fight. I think he can also try to look for the grappling here and there. Kyle Daukaus, though, again, he's not putting together the best combinations either, which is kind of sketchy. The one thing I will say, though, is like this guy can definitely backpack you, so he can hop on your mat, go for the submission. He can definitely grapple and throw up submissions and go for that. My only concern would be if Pickett's able to kind of work on this whole putting things together a little bit more, because it doesn't seem like he's going for the finish. He's coming off 2 decision victories. Weren't the most exciting fights. I mean, he only had one more, I believe, one more strike or one more significant strike than Joseph Holmes in his last fight. Both of those fights weren't really the best. Maybe Pickett's able to go for a takedown, but then you run the risk of Daukaus, looking for submissions constantly. So this might not be the greatest fight either, unless one of these guys is able to really put it on the other, whether it's Daukaus via submissions or Pickett, obviously able to put together like a KO or something like that. But I don't really trust Jamie Pickett, man. I feel like Daukaus can kind of run away with something and maybe just get the better of the grappling exchanges and maybe even get the better on the feet. So I'm a little sketched out for this fight, obviously, whether I'm picking Daukaus or Pickett. But I feel more sketched out picking Pickett just because, in his last fight against Joseph Holmes, there was a moment where he could have finished him, but he kind of just didn't. And he just slowed down and was happy coasting to the decision. And I don't know if he has that killer instinct, which can be concerning. Whereas Daukaus, he'll definitely take if he has your neck, he'll definitely throw in that rear naked choke and try to go for it. So I'm liking Kyle Daukaus on this one. Maybe not the most exciting fight, so I'll go Kyle Daukaus to defeat Jamie Pickett by a decision. And then move on into the main event of the evening. We have Johnny Walker taking on Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. And obviously for Sweet Dreams, he's trying to put people to sleep. So for Johnny Walker, 18-6, Jamal Hill, 18-1, 1 no contest. Johnny Walker, wild man. Although I will say against Thiago Santos in his last fight, I don't know if it was just a matter of him just wanting to not, get flash KO'd and bounce back up and do a bunch of crazy stuff or whatever. Because if he did get finished by Walker, which he did get dropped in that fight, I believe. Yeah, he got dropped twice in that fight. If he would have gotten finished, he would be coming off of a 4-fight losing streak. So he's a wild man. He's definitely an athletic guy. He can definitely go for flying knees. He can do these spinning back fists. But it's not. Sometimes it's not the most technical. In his last fight against Thiago Santos, he didn't really do anything in that fight. Like he was just content with like throwing some leg kicks, going to the body. If anything, Thiago Santos had the better combinations landed in that fight, the more damage in that fight. And Johnny Walker, maybe he was just playing it too safe. Now, maybe he's like, okay, I was playing it too safe, and now in this fight I'm gonna go crazy. The only downside to that, though, is he's fighting in a guy like Jamal Hill, who's going to have the speed advantage probably, especially when it's in close, and he's going to have very quick hands. We saw that against Jimmy Crute. He was able to just kill him, basically. Check hooked him and put him down. Lightning speed. And it's really good knockout power, too. Against Paul Craig, that was weird. He just kind of got caught in the submission. He probably would have knocked out Paul Craig if that didn't happen, in my opinion. So Paul Craig's a weird guy. He's like the anomaly. He's over there getting knocked out, and then he's throwing up submissions on a win victory. Against Ovince St. Preux, he was kind of able to just overwhelm St. Preux eventually and just KO'd him, which is pretty impressive to do. I just think he's really dangerous and close. But yeah, I mean, I would say definitely Jamal Hill is probably going to have that like in close speed advantage. Now, I guess if Jamal Hill sits on the outside, he's getting tagged up, and then Johnny Walker is able to kind of do that. I mean, I think it depends on how he fights, right? If Walker fights smart or if he's going to get there. get into a wild exchange. I think that really depends because, man, if Walker gets into a wild exchange and gets tagged up, man, like Hill's gonna put him down. But if Walker's able to fight smart and do a little bit more from the distance, whether it's leg kicks, going to the body, maybe even gets wild with it and goes for some sort of submission. I don't necessarily think that's gonna happen, but maybe he gets crazy with it. You never know. But if it's a standing thing, man, like I just feel like Walker is gonna get put on ice skates again somehow. He's gonna make a mistake and get KO'd. But then again, maybe he goes for a spinning back fist when he's like halfway like conscious and then wins, right, by a spinning back fist again. You never know with Johnny Walker. But I do think if Hill's able to get in his face and kind of start lighting him up, if Walker's not able to do anything about that, I think it's going to be pretty much over fairly quickly. And that's unfortunate because I think Walker's an exciting fighter to watch. It's just that no one really wants to watch him after that fight against Thiago Santos. He played it way too safe, and he did the complete opposite, right? He went from crazy man to like overprotective man. So I'm gonna go Jamal Hill on this one. Again, man, I think he gets in his face early. I think we figured this one out early too. I don't see this one being like a 5-round war or anything like that, or maybe it does, but I just think if Jamal Hill can get in close and start lighting him up, I think it's pretty much over from there. So maybe, like I said, maybe Walker's able to make this a frustrating fight, or maybe he pulls off one of those crazy KOs again, but I don't really trust it. So I'm going to go Jamal Hill to defeat Johnny Walker, and I'll take him to win by a decision. So that'll do it, guys, for my UFC Vegas 48 main card predictions for the upcoming event taking place this Saturday. Looking forward to it. Kind of, not really. I mean, this is really, just because of the fallout of the fights and all that, just really not one of the best fight cards that we're going to have this year. Unless everyone gets KO'd and submitted at all, like the whole card. So we'll see. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Leave your comments down below. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.